Welcome to Restricted Access, a show dedicated to bringing you paranormal news, eyewitness accounts and in-depth analysis. We've had wonderful feedback from our first episode, and we'd like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in and getting in touch. Your opinions matter, and help to craft the future of the show. If you want to jump straight into a case that interests you, just click the link in the description. But stick around for the whole show, as this episode has some particularly intriguing supernatural stories from across the globe.
Oh man.
Objects in a dark patch of sky, lights moving independently and changing colours. What are they? What has brought them here? Are these alien craft or something a little more terrestrial? At approximately 10:50 PM on Monday the 9th of January, an unnamed observer witnessed 3 strange lights in the sky from a housing estate in Hampshire, England. He immediately grabbed his phone and filmed for approximately 4 minutes before they flew out of sight. The witness narrates the film throughout, providing as much clear information as possible.
Camera's not great, but they are a purple colour.
His narration provides a useful tool for the mutual UFO network and for amateur UFO hunters everywhere. Owing to the poor quality of the film, it is necessary to describe as much of the scene and details as possible for the purposes of future analysis. Whilst filming, he states that there are 3 objects that he can see, which form a triangular shape. Apparently when he first spotted them, they were emitting a green light, but had changed to purple before he started recording. The objects appear to move independently, with one on the far left moving out of view at times behind a chimney, but all maintaining a steady height and at a roughly 30-degree angle from the ground. He makes a point that it is a clear night, although light pollution in the area means you cannot see any stars in the section of sky which he is filming. The objects then drop below the line of houses one by one. The footage is definitely a suspicious event. The lights hover steadily and allegedly change colours. He describes the area where he thinks they are hovering above as largely uninhabited fields. Their location and eerily slow movements make a convincing case for extraterrestrial activity. Our researchers closely examined the footage, and they have also been investigating circumstances surrounding the event. Whilst we cannot rule out alien crafts, our researchers found 2 events in that area which may have links to this sighting. As the local newspaper for Hampshire and West Sussex, The News, reported, there was a major traffic accident the day before the sighting took place. Near the town of Liss, some 30 miles from where the craft were filmed, 3 people were rescued when a car plunged off a main road and down an embankment. Although there is no mention of the equipment used in this accident, the police and emergency services in the Gosport area have stated they sometimes use drones in search and rescue cases. With this in mind, we began to look at the possibility of it being an unmanned aerial vehicle. Looking at the footage of the UFO incident again, the lights do move in a steady, smooth motion, similar to drone flight. Another news story that is noteworthy in relation to this sighting is this. Only 3 days before, more than 60 children from across the Hampshire and West Sussex area competed in a LEGO League Robotics Challenge at the University of Portsmouth. Although none of the robots we could find in that competition were capable of flight, it is not unimaginable that in demonstrating the possibilities of programming, they would employ the impressive visuals of drones. This may well have inspired amateur robotics enthusiasts to experiment with drones for themselves. In fact, although drones are considered luxury technology, there are new reasonably powerful drones available inexpensively. The cheapest we were able to source were around $39 or £30. Anyone interested in programming can synchronize performances such as the one we witnessed in the video. Also, all 3 of the craft dipped down as if to land within 4 minutes of filming. We do not know how long the eyewitness had been watching the lights before he started to record them, nor do we know how long they had been in the air before he spotted them. Even quite expensive drones have a relatively short flight time, anywhere between 10 minutes to half an hour. The fact that the objects lowered themselves out of sight instead of moving upwards or further away also makes them less likely to be spacecraft. So, although the case for drones looks like the strongest option, there are important facts to bear in mind. Although the police and emergency services for Gosport have admitted to using drones and a serious traffic accident happened the day before, we cannot say for certain if it was their drones that we saw that night. Drones from or inspired by the LEGO League Robotics Challenge are a distinct possibility. However, the average age of the pupils involved was around 11 years old, so any pupil involved in this challenge would have to be awake late on a cold January school night in a sparsely populated area. These facts also make this scenario unlikely. The most likely explanation is that these are drones controlled by flight enthusiasts who may have received especially good Christmas presents this year. Although until the owners of the drones come forward and categorically state that it was their machines in this video, these objects are and will remain unidentified flying objects. What do you think is the source of these strange lights? We're always open to theories and would love to know your opinion, so let us know and leave a comment below. Something has happened. Light years away, far beyond the reaches of our own galaxy and into the very depth of space. A single event so great and mysterious, no astronomer has yet been able to determine what has occurred. Great events are not always obvious. Sometimes it is only after the dust has settled that we are able to understand fully what took place. This could very well be the case for the events which took place in October 2014 at NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory. In the space of a few hours, Chandra recorded a sudden eruption of X-rays from a single, massive, powerful event, some 10.7 billion light-years from Earth. The data it recorded is unlike anything they have ever seen before, and scientists are at a complete loss to explain how it happened. Several theories have been put forward, however none of these ideas fit the data perfectly enough to explain the event entirely. For 17 years, NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory has been the flagship mission for X-ray astronomy. It has already imaged the glowing remains of exploded stars, observed the region around the supermassive black hole in the centre of the Milky Way, and is contributing to both dark matter and dark energy studies. Just before October of 2014, Chandra had been exploring a region of sky known as the Chandra Deep Field South. In the deepest X-ray image ever obtained, it witnessed a sudden and mysterious flash of X-rays lasting less than a day. It erupted seemingly from out of nowhere, and grew to epic proportions. For a few minutes it produced 1,000 times more energy than all the stars in the galaxy. Then it faded once again, becoming so faint it could no longer be picked up by the Chandra Observatory. After examining thousands of hours of legacy data from the Hubble and Spitzer space telescopes, scientists have ascertained that the event is most likely to have come from a faint small galaxy about 10.7 billion light-years from Earth. However, what the event was remains an enigma. No events have been found in Chandra observations before or since that exactly match what happened. Although struggling to decipher the data, scientists have produced three main theories as to what exactly it is they saw. The first theory is that it is a gamma-ray burst that lies beyond a small galaxy between the event and Earth. GRBs are jetted explosions triggered by the collapse of a massive star or by the merger of a neutron star with a black hole. GRBs are extremely energetic explosions and are the brightest electromagnetic events in the universe which we know of. Their second theory is that it is a gamma-ray burst, but the jet of energy is not pointed directly towards the Earth, and we are not seeing the phenomenon in its entirety. Their third most popular theory is that it is a medium-sized black hole shredding a white dwarf star. However, this event is roughly 100,000 times more luminous in X-rays. It is also located in a much smaller and younger host galaxy, and is only detected during a single, several-hour burst. Not one of these theories fully explains all of the data that has come out of the event, and as we have not yet found anything exactly the same witnessed before, there is no pre-existing data to rely on. There is one theory, however, that could explain everything that happened that day. Kevin Szawinski of ETH Zurich in Switzerland has put forward the idea that it may be a wholly new discovery. We may have observed a completely new type of cataclysmic event. We may never know what happened. Astronomers will most likely have to keep searching the skies until they are able to find another event similar enough to fill in the missing puzzle pieces. For now it remains a mystery, another secret hidden in the depths of space. Are you excited by the discovery? Do you have your own theory or think it was something more ethereal perhaps? Let us know in the comments below.
I'm actually sweating and out of breath, my heart's jumping out of my chest.
What the hell, dude? What's that? In the corridor. Hang on, Stu. Hang on.
I'm going to
I've a footstep. Hang on, let me rest
put
it.
that on there. Can you get that there, yeah? Make sure it doesn't fall. I heard footsteps, I'm sure I did.
Come on, if you're here, walk up this corridor. Front of the infrared there, but
right.
A noise is kind of, I don't know, it's like in the centre, here.
Okay.
Come on, if you're here. If you're here, what What's that?
What's that? There.
Presenters of the paranormal television show Most Haunted claim to have captured what they're calling the most groundbreaking footage ever captured of a ghost. The crew shot the controversial video while filming at the Wentworth Woodhouse stable block for a recent episode, where they hope to find evidence of a large ghostly man said to haunt the area. As you can see in this video, what appears to be the figure of a large man walks through the doorway the camera is facing. The Most Haunted crew see the white figure and react in a way appropriate to someone's surprise to see what they think is a spirit.
Carl, I can see it now. Go for it, go for it.
Cameraman Stuart Torrevell gives chase but comes up empty. By the time he runs down the stairs and through an open door, the mysterious man has vanished.
Who are you? Hello?
Representatives of Most Haunted are understandably excited at what they admit is itself rather puzzling evidence. They're unsure whether what they've captured is the spirit of a long-dead soul, a doppelganger, a stone tape replay, or perhaps something even stranger. As is most often the case, it will be up to the discernment of you, the viewer, to decide. Fans of Forteana will know that a doppelganger is a strange carbon copy of an individual that is said to sometimes suddenly appear without explanation, while the stone tape replay theory is the idea that electrical mental events can be recorded in stone and replayed again and again. If one believes in the possibility of either theory, then they both could potentially explain the anomaly caught on video. Naturally, the possibility of persistence of personality post-mortem speaks for itself as an explanation. Other paranormal possibilities include an extra-dimensional anomaly, wherein we are given a glimpse of another reality, or potentially even seeing across time. If the footage isn't hoaxed, then perhaps what we're seeing is Torrevell witnessing himself walking up the stairs moments before actually doing it. Skeptics, however, were quick to decry the veracity of the popular paranormal show's video. Controversial UK journalist and skeptic John Donis tweeted a photo in response that places a still from the programme next to an image of cameraman Stuart Torrevell. Donis asserts that the show's footage is actually an overlay transposed onto the video. Torrevell's gait and build do appear to match that of the ghost in the video, and the similarity has aroused suspicion among skeptics. Fans of Donis took to Twitter to mock Most Haunted, whom they believe has perpetrated a hoax. Most Haunted has struggled with allegations of fraud since 2005, when resident psychic Derek Akora was tricked into trying to pass off planted information as his own. Accusations of supernatural shenanigans have also been levelled against the show's hosts, Yvette Fielding and Carl Beattie, after footage surfaced that seemed to show them faking paranormal phenomena, such as ghostly bumps and knocks.
See us. Move the table if you can see us. Harder.
Oh, it's coming to me, isn't it?
Our own video experts don't believe that the footage was digitally faked. The filtering doesn't show any blurring or discrepancies with the pixelation, although they admit that the video would be easy to fake through other means. It is clear from the video that there is plenty of room for a grown man to crouch at the bottom of the stairs, and it's possible that just such a man could be responsible for the suspicious figure we see walking. It is suspect that the camera was conveniently placed to perfectly capture a shot of the purported spirit when it is very unusual to set down a handheld camera during filming. Also note that the camera was set down in just such a way that it would hide someone crouching, but film someone walking up the stairs. There also appears to be a convenient hiding spot behind the open door towards the end of the video, making it entirely possible for a hidden individual to crouch at the bottom of the stairs, stand up on cue, walk up the stairs and into the empty room, and hide behind the door. We are never shown the rest of the room, and a man standing behind the door would provide ample reason to not give the viewer an immediate tour of the area. Our own experts dispute Donis's claim of a video overlay, but there's also no denying the similarity between Most Haunted's ghost and cameraman Stuart Torrevell. It makes the case stranger than it might seem on the surface, and perhaps our earlier speculation on a potential time anomaly deserves a second look. Ultimately though, we can't know for certain. We're left to either take Most Haunted's representatives at their word, or side with the skeptics and speculate on how the film might have been faked. When even the show's hosts claim not to have an explanation, perhaps we'd be well served by not assuming the worst, and giving the footage the benefit of an open mind. New information regarding the Travis Walton abduction case of 1975 has just been released. This alleged alien abduction is arguably the most famous UFO encounter in American history, and although it happened over 40 years ago, the site has now been subjected to new rigorous scientific scrutiny. After an extensive study, the laboratory Frontier Analysis Limited has released a report on the 4th of April 2017 stating that there are mineral abnormalities in the soil of the alleged abduction site. Abnormalities peculiar enough to warrant further questioning and analysis and to make us think again about this potential alien encounter. Frontier Analysis Limited recently conducted a study into the area where Travis Walton alleges he was abducted by an alien craft on the 5th of November 1975. On that night, Walton and 6 of his colleagues had been working with a lumber crew near the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Whilst driving along a dirt road, they suddenly encountered a craft floating a few hundred feet from the road and emitting a bright light. They pulled up closer, and Walton left the truck to get a better look. He then claims that he was knocked back, feeling a physical blow which sent him flying. His colleagues fled the scene in a state of panic, and when they returned a few moments later, Walton and the craft had vanished. They travelled into the town immediately after to report the incident to authorities, and soon became suspects in what police believed to be a murder case. However, 5 days later, Travis Walton reappeared, walking along a highway confused and dehydrated, and with intermittent memories of being taken on board a strange craft and examined by stranger entities. In the months that followed, Walton's story became huge. The National Enquirer ran his story, and there was considerable media attention from the mainstream outlets as well as paranormal circles. A few years later, Walton wrote a book of his account, Fire in the Sky, The Walton Experience, which was turned into a film in 1996. Although there were efforts made to verify the story with Walton and his colleagues, including some now dubious polygraph tests, there is little mention of research being done at the actual site. That is, until April of this year. Frontier Analysis Limited took samples from the site as well as nearby control samples for inspection. In their report, they do state that a large forest fire occurred in 2002, which may possibly affect the results. However, they were able to access wood core samples from the site taken between 98 and 99, a few years before the forest fire. The tree rings themselves are interesting, as they showed from the time of the alleged abduction and for 15 years afterwards, the trees experienced rapid growth and the rings were elliptical and wider on the side that faced the abduction site, while the samples from trees in the control site did not display the same unusual properties. In their study, they concluded that their soil samples contained traces of metallic particles, the amounts of which varied between samples. The report states that the iron-containing particulates amounts are higher in the site soils compared to the control soils, and of those the levels are higher in surface soils in samples from the site. They speculate that this is because the electromagnetism from the alien craft may have interfered with the location of the metallic particulates in the soil. Their conclusions do state that the likelihood of the material still being in place some 40 years after the event is unlikely, but not impossible. They note that in examples of other potential UFO landing sites, there are indications that an electronic force is interfering with elements in the ground, the effects of which can still last for some time afterwards. Overall, Frontier Analysis concludes that the Travis Walton abduction site definitely deserves further research. Their findings clearly show that it was not a typical site, and there were significant differences between site and control samples. Most of all, their report concludes, more metal particulates analysis is needed for confirmation of their relation to the UFO effects. Reviewing the Travis Walton case again after so many years, it becomes apparent that there are several aspects of this case that could use further inspection. Looking back over the case, our researchers have found many unanswered anomalies. Travis Walton's post-abduction symptoms of hysteria, full-body weakness, potential minor muscular atrophy, and moderate dehydration do not coincide with anesthesia or post-anesthesia delirium. In fact, many are opposing states. Although he was tested for drugs at the time, results from possible alcohol withdrawal, amphetamine, or opioid exposure remain unknown to this day. It is also worth mentioning that the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest was a site known for frequent military aircraft training. However, recent declassified documents have stated that military personnel in the area reported numerous unidentified aircrafts at the time of Walton's disappearance. Do the reports from Frontier Analysis convince you of an alien intervention? Does it require more investigation? Or do you think Travis Walton was merely confused or hungry for media spotlight? Let us know in the comments below. Not all cryptid sightings are equal. Some are fleeting glimpses of something inexplicable, some are close-up encounters of something incredible, and some are utterly terrifying. That is exactly the case with footage our researchers have found of a Toyol sighting in Bogor, West Java. The video begins innocently enough. The cameraman is filming his two friends playing guitar and singing along. Suddenly a long, thin hand reaches over the wall, and a creepy, pale creature writhes over and glares at the camera, swaying its head. The cameraman is, unsurprisingly, distressed by this apparition and calls his friends' attention to it, but they apparently cannot see it. The creature slowly crawls closer to the singing pair, then scuttles off to the left and disappears off camera. The title of this footage, which names the creature, translated from Indonesian, is Toyol Appearance in Bogor, West Java. Toyols are twisted spirits of children. Their appearance is usually that of a toddler, small in stature with a large bald head and slim shoulders and limbs. The older a Toyol is, the more it begins to have adult human proportions. A Toyol, however, has a greenish-grey pallor, with wide red eyes, sharp teeth and pointed ears. They have disjointed, spasmodic movements and have been described as having an animalistic gait. They are a creature that is created to act as a servant. Their spirits are imprisoned in jars or urns and are often handed down through generations of one family. If a Toyol's urn is broken, they are said to return to their spiritual creator. If that creator is dead, then they move on to his disciple. If none of these exist, it becomes a released Toyol, gaining exponential power and sometimes said to alter its form as it grows. They tend to be given tasks by their masters, often stealing money or important items. If they are unbound but not released from their form, they are said to prowl around villages, peering in windows and crawling over roofs. They are prone to mischief, but are not said to be harmful unless they are threatened, and then they are rumoured to kill humans by slashing at their throat or disemboweling them with their claws. This remarkable bit of footage is perhaps too good to be true. At first glance, the quality of the film and reactions of the subjects raised our suspicions. We had our experts analyse the video, and a few red flags have occurred in our investigations. According to our photo forensic specialist, there is evidence that the video has been artificially darkened. The image noise vanishes entirely in the black areas, something that shouldn't happen in an untampered video, and no amount of editing was able to produce image information in those areas. On top of that, the colour saturation of the film has been altered greatly. After checking the noise and DCT, our expert was able to categorically state that the section around the creature is an abnormal piece of footage and highly suspect. The frame rate is equally as bizarre. It was edited to be 30 frames per second, assumedly to match the audio, but the video itself is only 9 frames per second, making the validity of this footage extremely dubious. Her final conclusion after running digital tests is, although we can't conclusively prove that it is CGI, we can prove beyond doubt that it has been edited. After such an irrefutable diagnosis of video tampering, the rest of the footage is called into question. First, there are the odd reactions of the people in the video. Neither of the two singers reacted to the horrifying apparition slinking around them. It is rumoured that at times a Toyol can only be seen by one person in a group. However, as commentators on YouTube were quick to point out, if it's only supposed to be seen by one person, then how does this get captured on camera to be seen by many others? Then there is the odd reaction of the cameraman himself. Although alarmed by the sighting, he makes no attempt to back away or get his friends away from the creature. As the Toyol moves around, his voice becomes calmer. As the creature moves to the left of the screen, he makes no attempt to move the camera to carry on filming it. All these factors further weaken the validity of the film. But whether the footage is fact or fiction, it has done a great service bringing our attention to the creatures known as Toyols. Even videos that are highly suspect still have their place in the paranormal. This film is incredibly useful for spreading highly localized myth and folklore to the rest of the world. Despite the evidence of photo manipulation, this footage is still intriguing enough to reoccur on message boards and be talked about years later, and perhaps even many years to come. This brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you for joining us on our journey, and we hope you will visit again for more stories from the hidden depths of paranormal news. Whether it's spectres lurking in the shadows, or interstellar mysteries from beyond the horizon, it is our duty to bring you the best of what the supernatural has to offer.